But in New York City, and this is something that really comes out in Where Crime Never Sleeps, in this crime fiction anthology by members of Sisters in Crime, that in New York, there are communities, there are little worlds. And when you live in New York, at different times in your life, accidentally or on purpose or as your life changes, you become part of some of those little worlds, and you happen to visit others of those infinite number of little worlds.
Yeah, well,
and that's where I get the suspects, the witnesses, the conflicts that lead to murder and require investigation.
Well, New York is a collection of neighborhoods.
Yes, it is. And some of them, in fact, and I started one of my Death Will Fire You Therapist was one of the short stories. And I talked about virtual neighborhoods that therapists' offices and the gardens behind New York brownstones. I grew up in Queens in the suburbs.
Me too.
So what high school did you go to?
Oh, I went to a Catholic high school.
But you know that they're like strings of beads on necklaces, you know, scattered throughout the city. And one of the things I did a couple of times, I did it in Death Will Help You Leave Him, and I did it in Death Will Pay Your Debts. Right near the beginning, I had a funeral, which is a way that I could gather together the suspects and witnesses, the community of the victim. And the book will start with Bruce and his friends talking in my head. And they're usually wisecracking because, you know, the New York character, very different voice in this. These are lovable people, Diego and Rachel, and their family. They have a wonderful, wonderful family who they're separated from. And I have to say, in the middle of Journey of Strangers, I mean, they have such a journey. Horrible things happen because they fall in love with the Taino culture. And then, of course, the Spaniards destroy it.
Yeah, they did a lot of damage.
Oh, a lot of damage. If you hear that disease really killed off the native population, forget it. They murdered, they committed genocide.
Yeah, they did.
And it was a nightmare. And so they're heartsick by the time they go back to Europe in 1495, and they have to travel across Europe, and there are all these wars going on, and they eventually figure out that the parents and their sisters are in Istanbul, where in fact the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire welcomed the Jews, and said that, well, this was actually apocryphal. He didn't really say it. But everybody believes he said, you know, the King of Spain is an idiot, you know, to let these wonderful people go, and I welcome them to my empire. When they finally reach their parents' door in Istanbul, and they're finally home, I cried when I was writing that chapter.
Yeah, I have a few spots in my books where I still cry when I read them, because you really fall in love with your characters, and sometimes there's a little bit of you in your characters, and so you feel the emotions they feel. So you're working on this last story, and marketing doesn't seem to be too much of a problem for you. No? Am I wrong?
Oy vey's meer.
All right, so tell me about
As we say in New York.
Yes, yeah.
No, it's, as I said when we were talking before the show, when people ask, am I successful or not, the glass, well, I didn't drink enough of my water, but the glass is truly...
Your glass is pretty full there.
Truly, well, if I drank a little more water. The glass is truly half empty, and the glass is truly half full. I have made my peace. I think a lot of my emotional work has been about making my peace with the fact that things are not like my fantasies. I've wanted to be a writer ever since I was 7 years old, and I didn't expect not to publish my first novel, which is, you know, really the measure of success, I think, for anyone who dreams of being a writer, until my 64th birthday. And then I thought, you know, once I had the publisher and the editor and the series, that it would go on forever, and of course it didn't. But I have credibility as a writer.
You sure do.
And one of the things I heard over and over was, it takes talent, persistence, and luck, and the only one we have any control over is the persistence. And that I have had. And gradually, as my work has been out there in the world, and as I've gotten more self-confidence, and it is not everybody who loves my novels.
No,
And
of course not. How
I
could
have
that
to,
be?
and my short stories. I have taken enormous risks. I never thought I would write about Jewish characters. That did not interest me. And yet, here comes Diego, and he says, tell my story, and before I know it, I'm talking about intolerance, I'm talking about hate and bigotry, I'm talking about cultural relativism in an age of absolutism. I'm saying what I want to say. I'm talking about alcoholism and recovery, which makes people uncomfortable.
Pretty much you have
I'm an outrageous older woman.
You're an outrageous older woman who's achieved your goals. You're saying the things you want. Have a voice is very important. And you had that. And I'm so happy you've been on the show. You've been so interesting. And I wish you lots and lots of success.
Thank you so much.